Hello and welcome to the CSUN ATC TV broadcast studio here, a new experiment at CSUN this year. I'm Dave Gardy from WebAble TV, and I'm pleased to have up here somebody with needs no introduction, Mike Paciello, who was just your past keynote. And we're just opening the show, and Amazon is good enough to let us do that because they were scheduled for this time. They'll be up in 5 minutes or so. Mike, that was a great keynote.
Thanks,
give us some of the structure just for those benefit of those watching at home.
Yeah.
What were some of the principles you came up with?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, first of all, the privilege of being able to speak here. I've been coming to these shows since 1990, so these conferences, and I've watched people much greater than myself. Ray Kurzweil, Ray Bradbury have been up there, colleague George Vanderheiden. So to have that as a privilege was something I really cherish. I considered it a high moment in my career. But I really felt, especially in light of the climate, so to speak, that's going on, a little bit of contention in the industry, that today was to kind of remind people why we are in this business in the first place, why we chose. Most of us are in it because of our passion, either for the work itself, for people with disabilities in general, for technology, but more than likely, many of us, because we've had family members or friends or colleagues who have been affected by a disability, right? And what we want to do is we want to make things better. So today was really about establishing some principles. How do I continue to pursue my passion? And so I talked a lot about being transparent, being honest, being open, sharing. If there are problems with the technologies that we're developing and they're not working with people with disabilities because when we thought that they were, well, then work with them. Find out what it is, what will make it work. The other thing I talked about, trust. I think, again, we're living in a world today where trust is a premium. And if you do not have a contract of trust between yourselves as engineers, developers, designers, technical writers, and your stakeholders could be the businesses that you work for. Your stakeholders surely are individuals with disabilities, and that contract isn't based on trust. You're not going to go anywhere in this business. We are in a community that is very, very tightly knit, based on friendships, based on trust. And so I really wanted to make sure I got that message. And I talked about some of the business ramifications of a business value proposition as it relates to how do we move forward with technology and disabilities.
Just real quick, we've done interviews about DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and A now, the accessibility side.
Yeah.
Is that becoming accepted in the corporate world? Certainly very big with Section 508 in the federal side. What are you seeing about acceptance in the corporate side?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tell you, I tend to think right now, so in fairness to corporations, they're definitely giving it its due diligence. Most corporations, especially large companies, have some sort of DE&I office. The A is still kind of an appendage, so to speak, that is coming along with some organizations, certainly in the federal government it is. But see, to me, it's all a buzzword. It really is a buzzword because I haven't seen it truly affect change. Now, when I say affect change, I'm really focused on disabilities. It clearly has affected change with diversity and equity is
inclusion.
Concerned.
Yep.
And inclusion, right. But I wanted to have a profound change in our industry, and I'm still waiting for that to happen. Now, that's not to poo-poo what companies are doing. You see some of the great work that, we have Amazon coming up here in a couple minutes with Josh Mealy, and the work that he's been doing in those team, and the work that Microsoft has been doing. So there's a lot of smaller AT companies that are just doing some great work. But that DE&I, I think it's going to be a few more years before I see if it's really had a profound effect on society.
Interesting perspective. Okay, we're going to get going. We have the next 4 days to have some unbelievable content, and we'll do a Thursday roundup. Mike and I will be back, but we're going to go to Amazon here shortly. Some of these sessions are self-hosted by the people that are here, so the next one is self-hosted, and some of them will be hosted by me, and some will be hosted by Mike over the next 4 days. So we look forward and hope you'll come back time and time again because we've got some great content that's in the conference guide schedule. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to our staff, and we're going to get Amazon up here on stage. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
I'm
Great
Dave
to be
Gardy
here.
for the CSUN.
Everyone should come. This is going to be a great conference, and this studio here is where a lot of things will be happening. Everything new that's going on will be done here, will be talked about here.
And for you at home, for CSUN ATC TV, thanks for joining us.
And then go. Okay, great. Got a laptop just to your right on that table. I don't know if that's going to be an issue. Do you want to be on the other side of the couch? Okay. Can you do that? Does that work for you? Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Samantha Eisen. I'm a public relations manager at Amazon, where I get to help tell stories of the incredible work that my colleagues, including those that I'm joined by today, do every day, and I'm thrilled to be here. This is my first CSUN. I'm excited that Amazon gets to kick off the broadcast studio. And with that said, I'll briefly introduce. I'm joined by my colleagues Josh Mealy, a principal accessibility researcher at Amazon, and Ryan French, a senior technical product manager. And today we're talking devices accessibility at Amazon. So really talking about how we are making our devices more accessible, and not just accessible, but also delightful and enjoyable. So everything from our Fire tablets, Fire TVs, Kindles, and all the like. And with that said, I know we only have so much time today, so I want to kick things off. And Josh, I'll kick it off with you. I would love to do brief introductions, so sharing a little bit more about yourself, how you got into accessibility, and also what you do at Amazon.
Of course, and it's great to be here. Thanks, Sam, for the great intro. I'm a blind scientist. I live what I call a blind first existence. So blindness is a huge part of my identity and who I am, and sort of as such, it became a natural thing for me to get involved in accessibility and disability work. And so I started my career, almost, about 30 years ago as a tech support guy at a small company called Berkeley Systems, and have been involved in accessibility in one form or another ever since. I've been at Amazon for about 4 years, and I'm a principal accessibility researcher in the devices group at Amazon. So that means that yeah. Sure. Let's see. Where should I start? So I was just sort of discussing how my career has sort of always been largely about accessibility, and I started at Berkeley Systems doing tech support, and I've been involved in accessibility in one form or another ever since. I spent 20 years
doing accessibility research and development at Smith Kettlewell in San Francisco. And I've been at Amazon for about 4 years, and I'm a principal accessibility researcher in the device accessibility group. So really what I do at Amazon is to help Amazon understand how to make their products more accessible for customers with disabilities and how to make sure that we're doing that right. Thanks, Sam. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Oh, good. Ryan, do you want to give a little bit more about yourself, too?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Ryan, product manager at Amazon. Been working with technical teams at Amazon to build assistive technology for about 8 years. Prior to that, I worked in kind of different fields, some accessibility related, some not. My first kind of exposure to accessibility was in high school. My dad was diagnosed with ALS, and that kind of gave me a front row seat to how important assistive technology is, especially to help people be able to communicate or do simple things like turn the light on or off or change the temperature of the room. And also with his condition, it was apparent that you need a lot of different ways to access the things you need to do because sometimes your conditions change. So that was kind of where I first was exposed to this field. And then I, in college, was connected with a friend whose family ran a sign language interpreting business, and through a series of events, we ended up doing a startup of video relay service, which is where you have video calls with interpreters to place phone calls to help folks who use sign language communicate with folks who use phones. So that was kind of another exposure there. And through a series of events, I ended up at Amazon, and I'm here with you today.
Awesome. Thank you both. And I would love to dive a little bit more into like why you chose to work at Amazon. I know, Ryan, you've been at Amazon for almost 8 years, I think. Josh, you just passed your 4-year mark, and you were in research before that. But I'm curious, like, what specifically brought you to Amazon, and what keeps you at Amazon? And Ryan, maybe I'll start with you this time.
Sure, yeah. So prior to connecting with recruiters at Amazon and deciding to take a job with them, I was a fan of Amazon. A Prime member for many years, and the devices that Amazon had at the time, not as extensive as we do now, almost a decade later, but I kind of saw that there was the opportunity to create accessible experiences that many people would be able to use, which is sometimes a challenge to get your work out there. So that was I saw that as an opportunity, and then also Amazon has what we call leadership principles, which are essentially kind of how we go about doing our work and kind of philosophies, and one of them is customer obsession, which is our way of saying put customers first. And that kind of just doubled down on my perspective that Amazon would be a good place to be able to create experiences that would benefit, larger groups of people. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what brought me to Amazon, I feel like, and keeps me here is like seeing the impact and hearing the stories about how our devices can make such a difference in people's lives. Josh, I would love to hear more about why you decided to join Amazon.
Yeah, it's more of the same that we've been talking about. It's Amazon is a huge has so many parts of what we do. We deliver goods and groceries. It's online shopping. We've got movies, with Prime Video, and of course our group, the devices with Kindle and all of that. And it's just all of those things are things that really do benefit people with disabilities. They're products that we create for everyone, but they are products that are disproportionately awesome for people with many types of disabilities. And I really wanted a way to scale my impact on the accessibility work I was doing. I love accessibility work. It's extremely meaningful, but the more people you can affect with the work you do, the more meaningful it is. And so I was really excited about the idea of sort of upping my game at Amazon. And I had been doing the same thing for 20 years at Smith Kettlewell. It was wonderful. I did great. I loved it, and I enjoyed my work there immensely. but it was time for something new, and Amazon switching from research to industry was an extremely exciting and exhilarating change. So really excited to have made that jump.
Oh, no, that's awesome. I know the session is called Devices Accessibility at Amazon, and I know we alluded to what that may entail, but Josh, I would love to dive a little bit deeper into how we think about devices accessibility to really set the stage for why we are here and what we do and like what that entails.
Yeah, devices like tablets, like Fire TVs, like like the Alexa devices that we have. Sorry if anybody's got their Alexa turned on. You might want to mute it. But these are devices that we use, and as I alluded to, they're designed for everyone, and it's particularly cool when you have a disability, and you can use a device to access goods or services that you want or need to do the things you want to do. And if your devices, I'll just put it in the negative term, if your devices aren't accessible, you don't get to do those things. You don't get to access those services, watch those movies, read those Kindle books. And so accessing the access to the devices means access to the content, means access to being able to shop online. And so it's sort of this, it's absolutely essential that we create these accessible, delightful experiences through our TVs, our devices, our tablets, our Kindles, our multitude of Alexa devices. That's sort of the zoomed out reason for accessibility on our devices. Maybe Ryan is probably going to be really good at specifics, though.
Guess that cues me.
No pressure.
So I'm just going to lean into Amazon's leadership principles a little bit more here. Another one is invent and simplify. And if you've followed Amazon over the years, there's been many different devices that we've come out with. There's, started with Kindle e-readers, and we have now Fire tablets, Fire TV. Also the newer experience, the Astro household robot. Things that are similar to other products in the market, or things that are just totally new kind of things that we've thought of. And those are just to name a few. And while all teams at Amazon are responsible and work to make their products accessible, the device accessibility team, what we do is create the assistive technology that then enables all these different teams to make the accessible experiences. So just to name a few, there's our voice view screen reader for folks who are blind so that they can use devices that have screens. And then, to a totally different angle, switch access on Fire tablet that helps folks who can't use their hands to interact with the device. They're able to connect a variety of external devices that they can manipulate, however that might be, whether it's a sip puff straw or a tiny micro switch that they can just move their pinky and activate and trigger actions on the device. So we invent things, and then we try to simplify them and make them, as Josh was saying, useful for everybody and also usable by everybody. And yeah, hopefully that satisfies your demand there, Josh.
We're going to have more.
Okay.
We'll flesh things out. I'm sure.
We'll dive a little deeper now. I know you just alluded to some of the things that we've long had. We've had the voice-based screen reader, as you said, switch access. We've had a number of features that have been available for some time, but this year has been extremely busy for these two and also many of our colleagues at this conference. We've released many new features over the past year, and part of the reason why we're here is to drive awareness and make you all know of what we are doing. And I would love both of you to dive a little bit deeper into features that we've released this year that you're most excited about and that you've maybe had a hand in developing.
I'll start on this one. So kind of just three things that I'd like to mention here. Last year, we released hearing aid support on Fire TV, which uses the ASHA tech standards. So people who have compatible hearing aids are able to connect those to Fire TV and have a private listening experience, the audio from Fire TV directly into their hearing aids, which generally works much better than the audio being played from your TV speakers, reverberating around the room, getting picked up by the hearing aid. So people are excited about that, just kind of cleaner, crisper audio experience that they can have there. Second one, we just in January released what we call audio personalization on Echo Buds. Echo Buds is our true wireless earbuds, and these can be now tuned for your hearing preferences by using the Alexa app. So if you have Echo Buds, you go in, you do a little audio setup, takes a few minutes, and now you're able to hear just a little more sparkle and enjoy your music, your whatever it is you want to listen to better. So that was really exciting on a pretty affordable, good set of earbuds. You can get a feature like that. And then last one I want to call out is speak selection on Fire Tablet. This actually we just released over the last few days. So if you have a Fire Tablet and want to check this out, you may need to go into settings, update, make sure you have the latest updates. And then in the accessibility menu, speak selection is a tool that allows people who want content read to them but don't need or want a full screen reader experience. So voice view screen readers, generally for people who are blind that need a way to control the device and have everything spoken, where speak selection is focused on being able to select specific bits of content, have it spoken, but still be able to navigate the device in the standard fashion. So yeah, we've been busy, and I'm sure Josh has even more things to share.
Yeah, I mean, all of those things are, super exciting, and our team has done a really amazing job sort of getting these products into people's hands. One thing that I do want to talk about, I actually have, I'll try to hit on a couple things about Echo Frames, which are one of the devices that are Alexa enabled. They're a pair of glasses frames that you can add your prescription lenses to, but they're also, they're smart glasses. So they are Alexa enabled. They pair with your phone or your tablet, and you can access anything that you would access through your Echo, your Dot, or your other Alexa device without a screen. You can do from your glasses. And that sounds a little gimmicky at first until you think about the fact that for a blind person, when you're out and about in the world, you are, you've got a cane or a dog in one hand, maybe you've got a coffee in the other hand, and there are all these, your phone rings, you want to answer it, you want to take a note, you want to, do something. So you've got all of the Alexa control there in the frames, and they don't cover your ears. So that's another really cool thing. Another sort of way of recognizing that, these are not a product that were developed for blind people, but they have this disproportionately cool impact for blind people who want to have hands-free Alexa on the go without covering their ears. It's super cool. And one of the things we did with the Alexa frames is to make the inbox documentation super accessible. We included a Braille and large print card in every box with the Echo frames that has a URL on it, so that you can go to, directly to this URL and access all of the inbox documentation digitally in highly accessible HTML documents. So we've done, it's a great way for us to demonstrate that we know who, we know who's going to be using this product. We want blind people to benefit from it, and when people open that box, we want blind people to know that that the documentation is going to be fully accessible. So we're really excited about the documentation part of that and the benefits there. Also, Astro, our robot that we released maybe a year or so ago is a really cool little device. You can tell it to do all sorts of things. And I think that one of the really interesting things about it is that we don't yet know what kind of creative uses people with disabilities are going to put that device to. So that's a really interesting sort of experimental, it's not an experimental device, you can buy it, but for people with disabilities to be experimenting with how they're using it and what it can do for them, that's a really exciting area where we're really learning from our customers. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah. And I'd love to, again, dive a little bit. That's one of our leadership principles at Amazon, or guiding principles, is diving deeper, or to dive deeper. And I'd love to go back to one of our other leadership principles that Ryan had spoke to, which is customer obsession, which really means like everything goes back to the customer. We're constantly working backwards from the customer. And even just looking at some of the features and things that we've brought to life over the past year, talking through that process and like how we actually work backwards from customers and what that looks like. And Ryan, I'll start with you again with this one.
So it really comes down to involving people with disabilities at every stage of product development. We're working with technical products and software, but probably whatever type of product somebody's working on, some of these stages will be the same. We have, you understand the concept, then you prototype it, then you QA it, and then you do user research, you have a beta, then you need to go to market and communicate everything that you've done to the folks that'll benefit from it. And there have been times where we find ourselves scrambling at the end to fix things. And the way to avoid that, we've learned, is to make sure that we involve folks with disabilities at each of those stages. So as soon as we have an idea, we'll talk with people with disabilities and say, hey, what do you think about this? How could this benefit you? What do we need to do to make this more useful to you? At Amazon, typically some of these earlier phases are with folks internal to Amazon, and fortunately we do have people with a variety of disabilities on different teams, some of them on accessibility teams, some not, but we connect with these folks and get their feedback early on. And then as we progress later into these stages of product development, we often will then involve folks from outside of Amazon and get their feedback, and that's always a telling moment of once there's people who haven't been involved in the whole development cycle, they're seeing it for the first time, and then we really can dig in and do the tweaks that are necessary to make the product most usable by these people. And then also just, it's not only individuals, we try to connect with folks who are accessibility experts in their own specific areas. We do devices and software at Amazon, but we connect with people like Joss, actually, before he was at Amazon, was part of a group that we would connect with regularly and get their input on what we were doing. So just really got to talk to people and communicate and keep an open mind.
Josh, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, we like to say that we don't build accessibility products for people with disabilities. We build products with people with disabilities, and that's because we have people with disabilities, on our teams in the product development cycle. Part of the, it's not sort of here, here, buddy, let me help you with that. It's, hey, I have an idea of a product that's really going to help us as people with disabilities. Let's see about this. And the ideas come from everywhere, and they get bounced around. And the people with disabilities are at Amazon are crucial to sort of evaluating the realisticness and appropriateness of all of the accessibility things we do, whether it's a product feature or not. It's we also, by the way, have a really active and very vibrant PWD affinity group at Amazon, which has lots of events, lots of ways of sort of building accessibility and disability culture inside Amazon. One of them is hackathons. We're going to be talking about hackathons at a session later this week, but a little sneak preview. Hackathons are a great way to introduce new accessibility ideas from people with disabilities. I'll just end by saying that, as I said earlier, I live a blind first existence. I hang out with a lot of blind people and a lot of people with disabilities, and, they know where I work. And inevitably, you sit down with somebody for a drink, and it always winds up, you know what you guys should be doing, and I listen, because that's part of being customer obsessed, is listening to everybody's ideas about what could be really awesome for customers with disabilities.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you touched on that, because I would say too, when I talk to friends and family about accessibility at Amazon, a lot of people are surprised by all of the different things that we do. And they're often surprised in a good way. Like they love all the different ways, and some may seem gimmicky on the surface, but once you really dive into things, they can be really, really helpful for people with disabilities, and they love that we're doubling down in that space. But I'm curious, in those conversations that you're having, both Josh and Ryan, like with friends, family, anybody in your community, like what surprises them about what we're doing at Amazon? And also, like, to that end, what do you wish more people knew so it may not come as a surprise in that moment? And Josh, I'll start with you.
There's this whole sort of long history of low expectations for people with disabilities. People with disabilities tend to be undereducated, underemployed, and it's because of this sort of cycle of low expectations. But it's not just people with disabilities who have low expectations placed on them. Very often, companies that do accessibility also have low expectations, and it always surprises people how much accessibility work we do. Like when I tell people that every one of our Fire TVs has a screen reader and a screen magnifier built into it, they're surprised. When I tell them that every Echo Show, every Alexa device that has a screen also has a screen reader, and that surprises people. It surprises people to learn that we have more video, more described video than any other streaming provider. It surprises people to know that that Amazon runs internal accessibility hackathons. It's just so many of the things that we do, people don't know about, and this is part of why we're here, right? We don't want it to be a surprise that not only do we have screen readers on all of our devices, but it's a good screen reader, and it's designed by blind people who know what a good screen reader should include, and lots, it goes way past that. So that's just some of it.
Ryan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think the main point to add is people are surprised about what all the different features that we do have, and of course we're always working to add more. But in general, Amazon's devices and products are positioned at an affordable price point, which is also surprising, like Josh was saying. Like you'd expect a very expensive tablet to have these features, screen reader, magnifier, hearing accessibility tools and whatnot. That's you might expect that if you're paying a lot, but if it's a really affordable device, perhaps you lower your expectations. But our goal is to have customers not need to lower their expectations from an accessibility perspective. We want them to be able to get an affordable device that they enjoy, that has the features that they want, the apps that they want to use, and then the tools that they need to actually be able to take advantage of that.
Awesome. I know we're nearing time, so I'll wrap it with, I'm curious if there's anything that we should leave with folks about like what's coming, what they can expect, what you're excited about going forward.
Well, as I mentioned, we're not done inventing on the behalf of customers. It's to use some Amazon parlance there. So stay tuned. We generally don't share secrets in advance, but there will be things to come. So please stay in touch with us. Just a couple of things before we wrap. I wanted to mention the Speak Selection feature that I mentioned that was rolling out to Fire tablets. That is for Gen 7 and Gen 8 Fire tablets. So if you have a tablet from the last couple years, it's probably compatible with that. If you have an older one that's still doing the trick for you, that feature might not be available there. So just heads up so you don't get frustrated if you can't find it on an old device. And then Josh mentioned hackathons at Amazon. I just want to give a plug for a session I'm giving. I believe it's in, which day is it? Can't remember whether it's tomorrow or Thursday, but it's about vision accessibility tools on Fire Tablet and Fire TV. And one of them is a feature that we call Text Banner on Fire TV that allows folks to have the text from around the screen. So sometimes Fire TV has the item in focus down here, and then there's details about the show up here, which works well for people who can scan the screen easily, but for someone who has perhaps tunnel vision or has some vision challenges, it's useful to have all that content in one place. And that feature actually came from a hackathon that we had at Amazon, and I believe the team that did that, at least one of the developers from that's here, Mark, and I believe they won the hackathon that year, and then we actually decided to productize that, and we worked on it for some more time, and it's now available on Fire TV. So.
Josh, anything, I know we don't share secrets,
Yeah.
but anything that you're looking forward to or excited about?
I'll just mention that hackathon idea came from a conversation at CSUN. So it all comes back to customer obsession and listening to what your customers want. And I just want to close out by saying, we've talked a lot about customer obsession, and customers, our customer obsession includes customers with disabilities, of course. Coming, in the future, we don't talk about what we're going to do, but Jeff Bezos a number of years ago in one of his letters called our customers divinely discontent, and the divine discontentment extends to our customers with disabilities. And I mentioned the low expectations, so that's for some people, but for others, they want more. Yes, great that you have a good screen reader. We want more. We want accessibility, for across the board in every situation you can imagine. People always want it better, faster, cheaper, and that's what we aim to do. We want to make accessibility cheaper, better, stronger, faster. Steve Austin. You guys don't get that, but okay. So really, that's what we're doing, and we spend every day trying to do that. So that's what I hope people can expect.
Yeah, and thank you both, Ryan and Josh, for joining today, and thank you all for attending. I'm very excited. This was our kickoff to CSUN, but I want to leave you with 3 things to do this week or in the weeks to come, after CSUN. So you can check out our booth, number 103. Encourage you to stop by. You can see some of our devices and interact with features and things of this sort. We also have more than a dozen sessions this week that both Ryan is doing many, Josh has more, so I encourage you to check out the schedule and please attend them. And then also, after the show, we have a brand new redesigned Amazon.com/accessibility website, where there's a lot of more information about the little information that Josh and Ryan shared today. So you can find more there. There are great videos about our features and the like. So encourage you to check that out. But thank you again for joining, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Samantha.
Okay.
Check 1. Does that work?
Oh.
Oh, I see the camera there also.
Okay, welcome to this T-Mobile accessibility segment. We think we've got our act together up here with all the interpreters now. And we are pleased to have Mr. Kevin Nolan, who's the Accessibility Relationship Manager with T-Mobile, and Kevin Clark, also an Accessibility Relationship Manager. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us here.
Let's start off with a little bit of discussion of what telecom solutions, the future of them are for the deaf. Will AI and automatic speech recognition be an equitable solution for the deaf in the future?
Well, this is Kevin here speaking. I think we have to really look at several things that are happening with the technology movement. It's moving so quickly. Right now, T-Mobile is the leader in telecommunications, providing 5G access. So that allows us to do things that some of our competitors are unable to do as of yet, because we own that specific spectrum, mid and low band. Having said that, how long will 5G technology last? Maybe a couple of years before we move on to 6, 7, 8, and any other number as quickly as technology is progressing. With that in mind, we also have to look at ASR and AI. ASR, 3 or 4, 5, maybe 5 years ago, was very cumbersome as a tool. Maybe 20, 30% accuracy. It wasn't very useful. Now we're looking at products that can provide 80 to 93% accuracy, depending on the background noise, depending on accents, and a variety of things. ASR will never be 100% accurate. That's the goal, but I'm doubtful we will get there. So you couple that with AI, artificial intelligence, now we have 2 complete computers generating products, providing accessibility. That was unheard of 5 or 6 years ago. And so now the question becomes, where are we going in 5 or 6 years from now that will level the playing field?
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. This is Keith speaking. Technology is always on the go. It's always moving, so we're chasing to catch up. But right now, we keep technology with us. We keep our phone in our pocket, and it's always on the go. And so it's with us all the time. We're always searching for accessible technology to bring with us wherever we go. And so in the past, it was all stationary, and now the disabled community is, one second for the interpreter real quick.
We now are working with Braille devices.
We now are working with Braille devices, meaning a 40-cell device that has a Braille display that in the past we would leave at home, but now we're having a variety of different technology aspects that are allowing us to take that with us wherever we go. And it's not yet able to go, but there's specific devices such as video relay and services typically used on a larger screen or a larger monitor, depend on a webcam and those kind of solutions that are all stationary. And we also have, and now we're looking for solutions to bring those to a mobile app and a mobile ability. And we're all looking for.
We have more work to do over these next several years to make things more on the go.
Can you give us some perspective of the technology you're currently working with in the automated speech recognition and artificial intelligence sector at T-Mobile?
You want to take it?
Keith here. So our current technology is focusing on relay, but we are looking into future solutions for using both mobile and wireless and the capabilities to apply ASR and AI. And whether or not it's working.
We are looking into some things that we cannot announce right now. Can I, Kevin? No. We have a lot of friends here, but we also have a lot of friends who want to know what kind of technology we're working on. So we'll have to hold off on those ideas for now.
Can you tell us anything more about the IP relay that T-Mobile offers?
Absolutely, I'm happy to talk about that. IP Relay is a product that uses text-based relay services. What happens is the user will dial a number on either a mobile phone or a desktop and connect with an operator. The operator then places the outbound call. Once that connection is made, the customer or user will type whatever they want to say. The relay operator will voice that to the end party, and when the other party wants to speak, the IP relay operator then types that back so that the customer or user can then read that communication. And it happens very seamlessly, even though it's a three-way conversation. You can use a mobile app, and more importantly, it doesn't require 5G technology as long as you have some kind of technology or internet connection. It provides a 911 service. It has Spanish to Spanish as a feature. And the #1 provider of accessibility relay services is T-Mobile. And I'm going to allow Keith to talk about our deafblind friends.
Yeah, so IP Relay is the only FCC-approved, fully accessible, WCAG compliant, and that's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG. And that means that it's a baseline of expectations for accessible features that can allow you to modify and change and receive it on your Braille device. And we're continuously improving that for the Braille user experience.
I also want to add that it's free. You don't have to be a T-Mobile customer to use the service. The product is offered through the FCC, regulated by the FCC, and T-Mobile is the sole approved provider by the FCC. But you do not have to be a T-Mobile customer to use the product or service. Anyone can.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of how much inclusive design and accessibility for all is going into the system management framework right from the beginning, and when you design your technology? Give us a perspective of that.
Yeah, so many accessible frameworks are similar across the board, and different names, different theories, but there's a lot of similarities. And the baseline is to always include accessibility built in from the beginning. As products are developed, that means that it has to be approved within the budget, the guidelines have to be stated clearly, and you have to make sure that you're including someone who is competent and knows the field of accessibility as you're coming up with ideas for products and projects and programs. And that's one of the most important reasons why often when accessibility is an afterthought, it's added later into the timeline, it means you have to back up and fix and remediate what has already been put into place. And so that takes a lot of time to redo all of those steps. So that's one of the largest causes for the issue, is when it's accessibility is an afterthought, it should be really thought of in the beginning.
I just want to add that in this day and age, accessibility is a buzzword. Equality, accessibility, diversity, all buzzwords, but if you take a step back and look at the big picture, how many of these big companies are really practicing what they preach? They say they have accessible products, but the products are not inclusive of people with disabilities from the beginning. So in some ways, you really have to take a step back and look. So from T-Mobile's perspective, we have a team of people with disabilities already involved in the process every step of the way. We are very proud of the fact that we are the only telecommunication company that has an accessibility team. Verizon and AT&T do not have a dedicated team. They are working on accessibility, but they do not have a dedicated team, and that's the biggest difference between us and our competitors.
Knowing that, and that other companies don't have it, what does it take from a systemic management change to implement DEIA, now accessibility, for diversity, equity, inclusion, and now accessibility? What does it take to do a management structure like that to make those things happen?
Yeah, I think there are many champions in the field, folks who are really strong advocates that are pushing for change in the accessibility field. And it's an amazing need, and we have many great champions, but we're developing the future. And we have to include the disabled community in that, and they need to take the lead. I learned from Disability In that about 7% of the C-suite executives have disabilities, but that's not enough. We need more. Currently, there's been a lot of new accessible jobs, and the accessibility field has been growing immensely. About 12,000 new positions have been added in the last year, according to LinkedIn, and those numbers are growing. And entry-level positions are most of what that statistic is pertaining to. Testers, remediation, those kind of basic entry-level positions. And so we're not getting ahead of the problem. And we need to have the disabled community taking the lead in being the solution. There's a need for hiring people both at entry level but all the way up to the C-suite. And we need to be making opportunity because the disabled community has experience that is valuable and contributes to the field. And many disabled folks may not qualify for the top level suite, but they have a lifetime of experience. And they've lived the experience, which beats any learned experience. And so we need to make opportunity for those folks to take the lead.
How does T-Mobile outreach to the disability community for recruiting purposes?
We have a very strong presence nationally, locally, and regionally at conferences. We're always looking for top talent, people who are committed to accessibility, committed to equality, committed to making telecommunications fully accessible. That commitment it manifests itself in many ways. It could be an engineer that's committed to accessibility, all the way up to a deaf person who's committed to civil rights and equity. So it's a range, a spectrum. So we're always looking for that. Our human resources group has been a huge source of support for us, very supportive in providing accommodations, providing interpreters, whatever we need or want, we ask and we get it. T-Mobile believes in that.
Yeah. T-Mobile is always showing their commitment to DEI and accessibility over the last several years. And through
T-Mobile received 100 on their disability report at Disability In.
And we as a company are always making sure to provide workshops, trainings for our employees, and that shows as a core value within T-Mobile. And so I'm proud of that success that the company has achieved.
What are some of the challenges you're seeing and problems in the user base that you're looking into the future to try to solve with technologies such as AI?
I think it goes back to what Keith was saying earlier. You have to have authentic representation on the product development teams. Often you have ideas that are produced by sighted people or people who have hearing, and they get together and they start developing these products and ideas. They're not including people with disabilities. And then you don't have authentic representation. And for me, as someone who has a disability, I am deaf myself, why would I want to use products that are not inclusive of people with disabilities in the production of them? The issue is that today, society is still stuck in many ways, to 50, 60, 70 years ago, where people with disabilities were marginalized and placed aside or hidden out of sight. It will require a massive paradigm shift in society's view of people with disabilities before we can have conversations about equality in products and development.
What are some of the points that that you would like to, that I haven't asked about yet, that you think is a good message to get out to this audience right now regarding the whole technology picture at T-Mobile?
I'll take that one. I think at the top of my list, I am proud to work for a company that supports people with disabilities, T-Mobile. T-Mobile is very forward-thinking. We are known as the Un-carrier, and so we do things differently from what our competitors do. And really, at the end of the day, if you look at the bottom line, the results are there. How does that translate to accessibility? How does it translate to DE&I? To all of those hot buzzwords that we mentioned earlier. The proving is in the actions. We are here because T-Mobile wants us to be here. We are here because we want to be here. We want to collaborate. We want to talk about and innovate with our colleagues here. I think that's a clear example of how T-Mobile is supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what you just said, we're here. And disabled people are not leaving. When you look at how many folks how people frame disabled or able-bodied, really, we have two different pools of folks, disabled and then not disabled yet. And so we can't avoid the process of aging or accidents or illness or whatever it might be, unpredictable things that can happen in our lives. We will all be disabled at some point. And whether it's temporary or not, that's an inevitability. And so as we develop products, and we just need to make sure that we all are doing it in the right way from the beginning, and so that everyone can benefit from the accessibility that is put in place. And we're trying to cater to all. We're trying to do the right thing by everyone. And so when we think of our competitors, we want to do better always, but at the end of the day, we're all trying to work together to make the world a better place. And that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
What distinguishes, at the end of the day, T-Mobile's culture from the other companies? You touched on it in the beginning, but what is the distinguishing value proposition?
For space. The Russians successfully put an individual in space. That led to JFK telling a group of scientists, we will move that man to the moon. And at that time, you can imagine what that was like for the scientists. They were sitting there like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? All of these different things that we have to cover. Sure enough, we put an individual on the moon. Take that and to T-Mobile, and the question is not if we can, the question becomes when can we do it? There's no idea that's so far-fetched that T-Mobile would say, no, that's crazy. We are encouraged to think outside of the box. We are encouraged to just throw ideas out and see where it goes. I mean, if you had told me 20 years ago I would have some kind of device in my pocket that I could call my parents with on a screen, I would have never believed you. But now I take that for granted. So what's next? 3D holograms? Teleportation? Star Trek type of stuff? Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, one of our highest priority values is to deliver. And so because we dream big, we are the Un-carrier, it means that we won't say, oh, no, that's silly, that's too much. We always just go ahead and do it. We try to make it happen to the best of our ability.
If people here want to see you at your booth, or what other presence do you have here at the show that you think people should check out?
So our booth is number 214. You're more than welcome to come by and visit us anytime. And at the same time, Keith and I will be providing a presentation in Platinum 1 through 3 on Thursday at 11:20 as well. So we would love to have you all come to our presentation.
Excellent. And do you have a website you want to give out, especially as it relates to disability and the IP relay?
Close big, Keith.
Yes, absolutely. Our accessibility team has a variety of different products that we offer, and the website is www.tmobile.com/access, ACCESS. And you can email us at access@t-mobile.com for any more questions or information.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate the time you've taken today. We've been speaking with Keith Nolan and Kevin Clark, both accessibility relationship managers at T-Mobile. Let's give them a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.